being able to sort of, control a political party does require a lot of discipline, skill, talking to people, engaging with them, negotiating with them, getting them on board. If someone disagrees with them, how can you bring them around? All that is a skill which should be, again, keyword should be embedded within the party. It's not just, of course, the leader who needs to be able to do that, but there are other key figures within political parties who should be able to do that. Deputy leaders, absolutely. Party chairman, just to name a few. However, that has been distinctly lacking in the Conservative Party for quite some time. And one of the key big features we've been talking about during the whole Conservative leadership contest is we've been constantly hearing by, all the candidates, we are going to be the ones to bring unity to the party. Only I can unify this Conservative Party, without bearing in mind saying how they intend to do that. You can say it, but how are you actually gonna do it? There's a big leap, and especially definitely going to be a big leap if, bear in mind, now they're down to the final two of either Badenoch or Jenrick, which is, well, an awful choice. Every single one of them was an awful and terrible choice. But now you've got a centrist group of Conservatives who has come out and refused to back either of these candidates, already signaling a lot of trouble ahead for, once again, a very fractured party. So, before we do get into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the One Off Station link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can all buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. So, let's crack on then into this, because, oh my word, this has been going right to the core of what I've been saying for so long about this, that if they don't get everyone on side, they can talk about unity as much as they want to, but how do they intend to deal with this? How do they intend now to deal with this group? What are you going to do? This is not what unity looks like. Already, the leadership, whoever wins, the straightway headwinds into trouble. So, this comes from The Guardian with the title of "Centrist Group of Conservatives Now Refuse to Back Badenoch or Jenrick." So, senior Conservatives have now warned that the party could split if Kemi Badenoch or even Robert Jenrick pursues an overly populist path as leader, after the main party's centrist group refused to endorse either candidate. Bear in mind, this is now becoming even more obvious that, is there a split happening, like a proper split? Will these centrist Conservatives just split away from the party? And if that happens, that will be big. That will be massive if that happens. So, with moderate Tories, of course, still reeling from the shock ejection of James Cleverly from the contest. Again, even if somehow Cleverly won, he would not last long either. Cleverly is far too connected with previous past Conservative administrations, with everything that went wrong in the Conservative past. He was there right almost near the eye of the mess. And yet he has refused to really apologize for any of that mess, take any of that to task, or really learn any of those lessons. So no, he would have not have been a good choice either. He would have not have lasted long either, just as Badenoch and Jenrick are not going to last long either. So this, of course, left just two choices for many MPs now on the party's right. Shadow ministers and many Tory MPs have now urged the pair not to overly focus on chasing reform voters, except that is what they are going to do, because that is all they've talked about, chasing reform voters. So, as one conservative centrist described the party's position as, quote, bleak, the Tory Reform Group, which represents one of the many One Nation conservatives, said that now it could not endorse either Badenoch or Jenrick, saying both have now used rhetoric and focus on issues which are far and away from the party at its best, it said in a statement, adding that the group had also been consistently disappointed by the lack of engagement from the two candidates chosen by MPs. There is particularly now worry amongst many conservatives that Jenrick's promise to immediately pull the UK out of the European Convention on Human Rights, so as to be able to expel asylum seekers, a plan that he reiterated in a speech on Thursday, could divide Conservative MPs. It absolutely would. Absolutely would, because those Conservative MPs, those One Nation centrists, know the consequences. Like, they know the consequences of what that would mean. Immediately, our withdrawal agreement with the EU goes into thin air. The Good Friday Agreement, one of the most successful peace agreements to sectarian violence in the world, goes poof as well. You know, there's a lot of consequences, and just those are the two main ones. And yet, when any of these people have brought that up, those two things have never come up. Like, well, oh, how are you going to do that? What about the Good Friday Agreement? That question never gets asked, which annoys me to no end when they somehow skip those as a consequence of their actions, and those would be quite severe consequences, as well as many other consequences that would follow as well. So, if Jenrick does get elected and makes that a central conservative platform, that's going to divide conservatives. As was alluded to there will be a split. It's going to be bad. So, answering questions afterwards, Jenrick said that this campaign, quote, represents all the traditions of our party to try and support some of the centrists, Tories, such as Victoria Atkins, one of the TRG patrons. But with a speech now counselling membership of the ERC in a categorical Brexit echoing terms of even just leave or remain, some Tories doubt he can actually unify the party. And again, if he wins, he won't. This will be the dividing lines. And once again, it will destroy the party internally. It will cause a split. Maybe they'll even leave. Who knows? But Jenrick's days as leader would be heavily numbered. Steve Baker, of course, the former Brexit minister who is backing Badenoch in the contest, said, of course, the party could split over the ECHR, and of course, trying to carry MPs by force of character or even authority is a mistake which belongs in the past. Gee, you mean like Boris Johnson did, or many of the, the Brexit pro, you know? Shocking to see that Baker's saying that, but there you go. These are also concerns that now are pitched to voters mainly aimed at trying to counter-reform UK over immigration or even the culture wars could now repeat former Conservative voters who defected to Liberal Democrats now in large numbers in the last election. These worries also take in Badenoch, who, while also less doctrinarial on migration, she has argued that leaving the European Court is an oversimple solution and has rallied against what she calls now as a growth-stifling bureaucratic elite, arguing at last week's Tory conference that 10% of civil servants were so bad they should be in prison. Like I say, that does not play well with your general voting populace. However, plays well with the Conservative voters who potentially are about to vote and make her leader. Like I say, she knows what crowd she was playing to when she said that. One backbencher said that they had been absolutely dismayed to find that the final two candidates were whittled down from the initial 6 by a series of votes amongst Tory MPs, which party members will now pick a winner at the postal ballot, the result of which will be announced on November 2nd. The sound you can hear in the background is the barrel being scraped. Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. Oh. So the sound you can hear in the background is the barrel being scraped, they said. We now have a choice of a European Court human rights one-trick pony who believes that our special forces murder people, and an anti-woke one-trick pony who picks endless fights. As a choice, it's shit. If they make the Liz Truss mistake of packing their front bench with supporters rather than reaching out to the wider party, there really could be a split. And oh boy, they are going to make that mistake. They are going to pack their front benches with supporters. They ain't going to care. They ain't going to reach out to these One Nation people. And we'll see it very quickly. You know, Jenrick, is meant to be completely in thrall now to the Suella Braverman crowd. Quote, got him by the balls. So that'll be interesting if he wins. But another former minister said, really, this is all the consequence of Rishi's disastrous election. The tiny electorate, many of them now incredibly inexperienced, meant that tiny margins could make a huge differences. Hopefully, there will be no more. Hopefully, there will be more gaffes to show the people the difference between the candidates, so we can at least get behind the least bad option. But it's all very bleak. Yeah, there is no least bad option. They are both as bad as each other. I mean, to reuse that quote that was said, that sound you can hear in the background is the barrel being scraped. I mean, bear in mind, they've been scraping the barrel for a while now. Like, they've been legitimately scraping the barrel for a while now. They're just actually coming to the realization that that's the case for the very first time. So it continues. Liam Walker, an Oxfordshire councillor and campaign manager for the party, said that the once ultra-safe Tory seat that represented David Cameron, that was now lost to Liberal Democrats in the last election, said he hoped Jenrick and Badenoch would just not occupy the Reform territory. He said, I'm a bit concerned. The centre ground is where we win elections, and it's where we managed to more or less wipe out the Liberal Democrats here in the past. This feels like a lurch to the right. Immigration is an issue amongst voters here, but it's fair to say that leaving the European Court isn't really something that comes up on the doorstep. Some centrist Tories do believe Badenoch, who spent the day campaigning in a council by-election, has not boxed herself in quite so much with specific policy promises, so they could be better placed to ease their concerns. As I've said before, Badenoch's going to win this because the membership really want her on that. Another former minister said, if Kemi now speaks out on housing, health, and the economy, which are the most salient issues affecting people, and which she has the most positive things to say, then that will help a lot of people and persuade members who might fear now a mad lurch to the right. Here's the thing. What she's saying on housing, health, and the economy. Like, what is she actually saying? It's monumentally overly populist, what she's saying. Her housing policy hasn't really been articulated in any way, shape, or form. She hasn't really said what she's going to do with the economy except get rid of bad regulation. And she said, as far as I can tell, nothing on health. So for now, many Conservative MPs who, of course, back cleverly on the other main centrist candidate, Tom Tugendhat, or who just have doubts about the two remaining candidates, are now trying to hope for the best. With someone saying, I think everyone gets the enormity of what we've been through with the election defeat. The smart candidate won't want to split the party, one shadow minister said. Yeah, won't want to, but they could very well do things that lead to that split. The party has been in this position for quite some time now, and they are realizing just how bad a situation they are actually in. It's sort of should have happened a long time ago that the centrists in the Conservative Party should have stood up to the right wing of their party a long time ago, and they just didn't. And part of the problem, this is where they are today. So another shadow minister said they will now be very aware of the different opinions on things like the European Court and, of course, the culture wars. They'll also be aware of that which the 121 MPs, we just haven't got the numbers to start splitting into factions. They're already in factions. Like, the factionalism hasn't gone away. Like, that hasn't gone away, and that will show its and rear its head probably again pretty soon. So after they get elected. So, an apparent effort, of course, to try and shore up the new leader with a percentage of Tory MPs required to trigger a challenge has obviously now been doubled from 15 to 30. So, you've gone from 15% to 30%. So, this was announced, of course, last Thursday evening. Under the previous rules, just 18 MPs could have begun the process, given the current contingent of 121. So, so they've gone from 18 would have been given contingent of 121. That means they would need, is it 30 they would need? What's 30% of 121? I think it's 30 something. Or might be more than that. But still going to be problems for them almost immediately when you've got a Conservative faction coming out and said, we can't back either of these candidates. You know, they're already worried about a split, a lurch to the right. They've already guaranteed that. Because both of them will pursue right-wing populist policies, guaranteed. Kemi Badenoch is going to be obsessed with culture wars. She will start an argument with an empty room. Robert Jenrick going to pursue that, that referendum on the European Court of Human Rights, which will again split the party. Who wins? It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a disaster. And I think there's some Conservatives now realizing the true mess that the party is in. And I have to say, what's taking you so long? Why did you get to this state and allow the party to get to this state where you are in such a bad choice between these two? Because it will be very interesting to see how many members, or at least they don't release this information, but I wish they would. How many members don't actually vote? Like, how many members of the Conservative Party actually vote? I don't think many of them will. Some of them. I think you might see a significant drop off. But again, I think Kemi Badenoch's going to win. She will win. I've said this before. The party wants her, and it's going to end up being a absolute disaster for them. Will it cause the Conservative Party to split? Very possibly. Very, very possibly. So the fact that they're even realizing that now just goes to show you the sheer panic and realization of, oh no. And to use that quote, that sound you can hear is the bottom of the barrel being scraped. What a quote. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.